So the international breaks are finally over, and what a run of fixtures Celtic have got coming up. Yes, folks, welcome back to the channel. It is starting 11 prediction time for tomorrow's clash at Tynecastle. Saturday night at Tynecastle, no less. I don't know if that's ever happened before, let alone at Tynecastle to have a league game on a Saturday night at 7:45. I know maybe years gone by we had one or two 5:30 kickoffs on a Saturday night, but I don't remember too many at 7:45, so it should be a brilliant atmosphere at the game. Buzzing that Celtic are back, buzzing that we don't have another international break until March now, and what a run of fixtures we've got to look forward to, and it all starts tomorrow against Hearts. Today I was at the press conference following the AGM. I wasn't at the AGM, by the way. I was at the press conference with Brendan Rodgers to preview this game. It went on for 24 minutes. You can see the full video on Celtic's YouTube channel. By the time it got to me, I asked him about Rio Tati's form and how he thinks he's developed since he's been working with him. And then I noticed in the Celtic TV interview last night that he referenced the generational change in players from his first time here to now. And I wanted to ask him what the biggest difference he feels is in the generation of players from when he began managing to what it's like now. Different answers. It's difficult with these press conferences when there's so many people there, and the mainstream guys are asking the sort of AGM questions and the sort of low-hanging fruit questions you would expect them to ask. So I always like to come up with something a wee bit different. I always try and make it football focused as well, to try and get a bit of football insight out of them. I think I did that today. You can catch it all on Celtic's YouTube channel. As I say, we have got a full complement of players going into tomorrow, which is brilliant for the manager. Cameron Carter-Vickers obviously just being managed there before the break, given the injury issues that he's had. But as it stood today, everybody was back fit from international duty, and there was no real concerns around any of the first team players, which is key for us. And the longer that can stay the case, the better. 7 games in 22 days coming up, and they don't stop after that. We've got plenty of games from now until March. I think there's one free midweek between now and the 1st of February, so lots of midweek games. Lots of big fixtures to look forward to, but we're going to need a strong squad. There's going to be rotation at times like we've seen already this season, and the longer we can keep everybody fit, the big players in particular, the better that will be for us moving forward. So in terms of Hearts tomorrow, we know it can be a difficult game going to Tynecastle. They haven't had a great season so far, which has been well documented. They sit second bottom of the league. They've had 2 wins in their last 5 matches. Neil Critchley's obviously gone in there now to replace Stephen Naismith, and I think he's trying to implement a new style of play. I heard them talking about up to a couple of Hearts games recently that he's trying to coach them to a stage where the principles are always the same and you're trying to play in the same way every single game regardless of the circumstances. So I do think he's still trying to bed that in. As I say, the atmosphere will be good going there anytime, but particularly on a Saturday night I expect it to be good. But if we can keep our level up and play with that intensity that we've shown so far this season, I would expect us to come away comfortable winners. But as I say, we can't underestimate it. We've got to be right at it and expect the kind of tough game you can get at Tynecastle, because we've seen it time and time again over the seasons. This can be a really difficult fixture for us. So everybody's got to be right at it from the word go, and that might be difficult for some of them because they've done a lot of travelling across the world in the last 7 to 10 days. So everybody will need to be switched on and ready to go from the first whistle tomorrow. Right then, let's have a look and try and guess the team that Brendan Rodgers might put out for Celtic tomorrow. Kasper Schmeichel no doubt will be in goals. Looks like he had a great international break. He was man of the match for Denmark in the 0-0 draw against Serbia. Made 6 saves. I saw the highlights of the game. He played very well. A wee bit in contrast to the last international break where he'd made the mistake against Spain and stuff. So he's in brilliant form. Excellent before the break at Kilmarnock, and against Leipzig. Made big saves when we needed him. Really key player for us. He's just slotted in there seamlessly since he replaced Joe Hart. It looks like he's been playing for Celtic for years. Again, we're almost coming up to 5 or 6 months into the 1-year contract that he did sign. I wonder when the talk and the speculation will start about when the club might look at extending that and trying to get that other year out of him, because I think he's certainly shown no signs that age is catching up with him. He's been absolutely brilliant, both with the ball at his feet, but of course making saves and doing the bread and butter things you expect for a goalkeeper. So we'll see how that develops. It might be one that they've just said, listen, we'll play out the full season and we'll look at it towards the end of the campaign. But again, it's similar to Joe Hart, where if you're in it, you've only got less than a year to go on a contract. The club need to know where they stand moving into the summer. I know we brought in Tynecastle last year in the summer along with Schmeichel, but he hasn't played any first team minutes at all. So I think as we move forward the next couple of months, particularly into January, we've got to start thinking about whether Casper's going to be here with us for another year or not, because whatever the club want to do in the summer might change based on that. But he's been brilliant so far. Back four, I'm going Johnston, Carter Vickers, Trusty and Greg Taylor, starting with Alistair Johnston, new contract until 2029. Buzzing for him. What a player he is. So integral to what we're doing just now. He's been in great goal scoring form, but I think all round his game has moved up a couple of levels recently. His energy, I always talk about his attitude, the sort of relentless way that he plays, how he relishes physical battles and that sort of physicality he brings to the team, that intensity has been there since the minute he stepped foot on the pitch for Celtic when he first joined. But I think nobody can begrudge him that new contract. It ties him down. Who knows whether there might be interest in him if he keeps this sort of level up going forward as we move through the rest of the Champions League campaign. He's sort of in his peak years. There may well be interest in him, but the longer we can keep him, the better. I think he's a really key member of the squad, both in terms of how he performs on the pitch, but again, Brendan Rodgers keen to point out the role he has off it as well, in terms of being a voice in the dressing room, the leadership qualities that he has. And he's not in the core leader, well, probably as part of the core leadership group, but Callum McGregor is obviously the captain. We've got Carter Vickers, who's been there a bit longer than Johnston, but he's no doubt part of that, and I think he's a brilliant player for us, so absolutely buzzing that he signed that new contract. I'm just going with Carter Vickers and Trusty. Trusty did go away with the US, didn't play too many minutes. I think he only played in one game off the bench, so a bit of travelling for him on that basis. You could say that Liam Scales might get the nod. That wouldn't surprise me. Scales obviously played for Ireland, got sent off at Wembley, of course, against England during that international break. So maybe he will get the nod ahead of Trusty, given that he's probably done less air miles, I suppose. But I think if you're going what Brendan Rodgers thinks is the strongest pairing with a view to Wednesday night against Bruges as well, you might just want to get Carter Vickers and Trusty together in there. I'm going Greg Taylor at left back, given that the nature of these games at Tynecastle, they can be a battle, and I think having experience playing there at that venue in this fixture will just get Greg Taylor the nod ahead of Alex Valle. In midfield, I'm going McGregor, Hatate and Arnie Engels. I asked Brendan Rodgers about Rio Hatate today. He obviously found some really good form there before the break in that last block of fixtures. I wanted to get Brendan Rodgers' opinion on his development during the period that they've worked together. And again, I think he's maybe alluded to this before, but it's all about consistency. He says for Rio Hatate, he was obviously injured a lot last season. He had a really disrupted campaign, didn't play very much, only really came back into the team towards the end. But he says the talent is absolutely undoubted. What he can do with the ball at his feet, he even referenced that nutmeg in the pass against Leipzig. And he says there's very few players who can do that, but for him it's all about trying to get him to work as hard as he possibly can in terms of how he presses the game, and then that setting the standard for the other parts of his game. So long may that form that he showed in a few games in the last block of fixtures continue, because at that level, the way he played against, I think, even Aberdeen in the semi-final, but then Leipzig in the Champions League game, that shows you the level he can get to him when he's playing like that. He's a hell of a player. Callum McGregor, obviously good for him to, again, get the benefit of not having the international break. I saw that he was away in Dubai, and Matt O'Reilly met up with a couple of the boys as well. I'm sure they were doing a bit of training. It looked like it. So he'll be there. Good for him to get a wee rest. And Arnie Engels, who did play for Belgium, I think they had a couple of disappointing results, but he'll be all the better for getting his first start for the Belgium first team. And again, you're looking for big performances from him, more development to come. He's always under the microscope given the transfer fee, but I've no doubt he's going to become a really good player for us. Just looking again for the consistency, I suppose, the way Brendan Rodgers is talking about with Rio Hatate, you're looking for that with Engels, only 21 years of age, but week in, week out, you need to be performing at the highest level when you're playing at Celtic. A player who is performing at the highest level week in and week out right now is Nicholas KÜHN, who I think will start on the right-hand side. Lots of plaudits for him during the break, even a nod from the national team manager at Germany that they're keeping an eye on him, which is sure to give him a wee bit of extra motivation. as if he needs that, but he looks like a player possessed this season. Absolutely brilliant. You can see in the banner at the bottom of your screen that he's carried the ball further than any non-defender in the Scottish Premiership so far. He's also had the most shots after dribbles, I think, as well. So he's integral to everything we're doing. The goals and assists have been incredible so far. It's over 20 goals and assists in a space of 17 games. If he keeps this up, he will absolutely wipe the floor with Player of the Year awards. So again, the longer he can just keep this level up, keep the consistency, keep doing the right things, the better it will be for us. I'm going Maeda on the left-hand side. Could we see him be replaced by maybe Forrest, who obviously didn't go away in international duty? Daizen Maeda has travelled a lot. I think Tuesday morning was Japan's game against China, so they will have travelled a lot. Hatati's another one. Obviously, Kyogo was away as well this time, so I just think Maeda will start the game, and if we can get in a good position, or maybe regardless of the position of the game, we might see 65 minutes, a few changes in the boys who have done a lot of travelling be replaced in the game. I think Kyogo will start through the middle as well. Good for him to go away. He's missed a few Japan squads recently, hasn't been selected. Maybe it's the good performances that we're having in Europe that are convincing the Japan manager that Kyogo should be more involved. He did only play part in one of the games off the bench. But again, that'll do his confidence some good. It'll motivate him again to be part of the future Japan squads and keep his level up. And hopefully he can start adding more goals as well. I think he's obviously scored goals this season, but we've talked consistently about the chances that he's been missing. I think he can be a bit more ruthless at times. There's no doubt about that. But again, he's really important, him and Maeda, in terms of setting the tempo with pressing the opposition, and we're going to have to put Hearts under pressure from minute one tomorrow. So there you go, that's the team I think Brendan Rodgers will go with. You can let me know who you think will start in the comments below, and we'll be back with you tomorrow outside Tynecastle with full-time reaction wherever you're watching the game tomorrow. Enjoy it. Thank you.